Gentlemen, the truth is, women communicate in subtlety. They won't always tell you what they want directly, but that doesn't mean they don't crave it. Most men miss the signs, and as a result, they lose connection, attraction, or respect. Today, I'm going to break down 4 things women deeply want you to do, but for their own reasons, they'll never say it out loud. Women may never come out and say it directly, but they deeply want a man who can lead without constantly asking for permission. Leadership in a relationship isn't about dominance or control. It's about direction, certainty, and confidence. When a man knows who he is, where he's going, and what he stands for, it creates a strong gravitational pull. Women naturally gravitate toward men who move with purpose. They don't want to be in charge of everything. In fact, even the most independent and assertive women desire a man who can take the lead when it matters. Not because they can't do it themselves, but because being in their feminine energy means they can relax and trust you to handle things. This doesn't mean making every decision without her input, but it means you're not constantly hesitating, deferring, or looking to her for validation before you act. For example, instead of asking, "What do you want to do tonight?" for the 5th time in a row, you might say, "We're going to this new place I found. It's got a vibe I think you'll love." That simple shift shows initiative, planning, and care. It shows you've thought about her, but didn't wait for her to carry the mental load. That alone changes the energy of the relationship. It allows her to feel like she can lean into you. It builds trust. There's also a psychological side to this. When a man leads confidently, it signals stability and competence. In uncertain times or stressful situations, the man who stays calm, makes decisions, and moves forward despite fear is the man who becomes the rock. Women don't want to carry the burden of making all the hard choices. When you take that responsibility off her shoulders, it communicates without words that she's safe with you, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. You become the anchor she didn't even realize she was craving. But here's where many men fail. They either try to control everything and end up being overbearing, or they become too passive and fear making the wrong move. Leadership isn't about ego. It's not barking orders or being inflexible. It's about clarity. It's about observing what's needed in the moment and stepping into that space without second guessing yourself. Women are highly intuitive. They pick up on uncertainty, hesitation, and a lack of direction instantly. Even if she doesn't mention it, she notices, and over time that erodes respect and attraction. When you practice leading, you're not just doing it for her. You're doing it for yourself. It forces you to develop confidence, to think critically, to take ownership. You're not waiting for life to happen to you. You're making decisions and taking responsibility for the outcomes. That is inherently masculine energy. And in a world where many men have grown passive or indecisive, a man who leads with calm authority stands out. Leadership can be as simple as walking into a room with presence, ordering confidently at a restaurant, or guiding the relationship with purpose instead of passively going with the flow. It's not about being perfect or always knowing the right move. It's about being willing to take the risk, make a choice, and adjust if needed. Women will never hand you a roadmap and say, "This is how to lead me." They want to feel it. They want to see it, and once they do, they relax into a version of themselves that's softer, more open, and more connected to you. That transformation only happens when you stop looking for permission and start showing up as the man who takes charge of his world. Women want a man who protects her energy, not just her body. While many men understand the importance of being physically protective, emotional and mental protection is often overlooked. What this means is that a woman doesn't just want someone who will keep her safe in dangerous situations. She wants someone who can shield her from unnecessary stress, negativity, and emotional turmoil. The world can be a harsh place, and women, often due to their natural emotional depth, feel the weight of it all much more intensely. They experience the ups and downs of life, work, relationships, and societal expectations deeply, and in many cases they carry a lot of that emotional load themselves. What they crave is a man who can recognize when they're carrying that weight and step in to protect them from it. This isn't about being a fixer, someone who thinks that every time a woman is upset, it's his job to provide a solution. It's about creating an emotional safe haven where she can let her guard down. Women want to feel that when they're with you, they can be themselves without the pressure of having to constantly be on alert. It's not just about being there physically when she needs help, but about being emotionally present when things get tough. If she's upset, a woman wants to know that her partner will be there to listen without judgment or condescension. She wants someone who can provide comfort without always trying to correct or solve the problem. The act of simply holding space for her emotional experience is incredibly powerful. It's in those moments that a woman feels truly seen and heard. Protecting her energy also involves protecting her peace of mind. That means not adding to the chaos in her life, whether it's unnecessary drama, constant arguing, or inconsiderate behavior. She wants a man who is able to stay calm when the world around them feels turbulent. Someone who can create an environment of stability, not just by saying the right things, but by demonstrating it through actions. When life becomes overwhelming, the last thing she needs is someone else who adds fuel to the fire. A woman can sense when things are off, when there's tension, or when something is lingering in the air that hasn't been addressed. What she wants is a man who can take charge of his emotions, someone who can center himself, and in doing so, provide a sense of security. A key part of this protection is knowing when to step in and when to step back. It's about being able to sense when she's been overwhelmed by external factors and offering to carry the burden, even if it's only for a short time. This might mean handling certain tasks for her, stepping up in ways that give her room to breathe, or simply offering words of reassurance when she feels insecure or uncertain. It's about being proactive in preserving the calm in the relationship and in her life, rather than waiting for her to ask for help. Furthermore, protecting her energy involves shielding her from negativity, whether it's toxic people in her life or unhealthy situations that drain her. A man who truly understands this will step in and protect her from these external influences. He'll recognize when someone is draining her emotionally and will create boundaries around that, even if it means confronting uncomfortable situations. Women don't always ask for this directly, but they need someone who is willing to step in and help protect their emotional well-being, even if it means making hard choices or taking difficult stands. The emotional safety and security that come from a man who protects her energy are invaluable. Women often juggle multiple roles: partner, daughter, mother, friend, and more. And these roles, while fulfilling, can also be draining. She wants someone who will understand when she needs a break, someone who can help her navigate the emotional complexity of life without adding more weight to her shoulders. The man who can offer this kind of protection allows her to relax, to shed the pressure of being everything to everyone, and to simply be. He doesn't take on the role of protector in a way that feels controlling or possessive. He does it out of love and respect, recognizing that her peace is just as important as his own. In essence, protecting her energy is a form of care and respect. It shows that you recognize the importance of her mental and emotional health, and that you're willing to be a stable force in her life. You're not just there to enjoy the good times with her, but also to help her navigate the stormy moments with grace and understanding. When a man demonstrates this kind of protection, he becomes an irreplaceable figure in her life, a partner who sees her, understands her, and supports her in ways that go beyond physical safety. Women want a man who can maintain a sense of mystery. While it might sound counterintuitive, especially in a world where communication is often pushed to be transparent and open, mystery fuels attraction in a way that nothing else can. It's not about playing games or being deliberately evasive. It's about creating an air of intrigue that keeps her guessing, curious, and deeply engaged. When you reveal too much too soon, the magic starts to fade. The more you share about yourself, the more predictable you become, and when things become too predictable, the excitement diminishes. It's like reading the last page of a book before finishing the rest. It takes away the journey, the thrill of discovery. Women often want to feel like there's always something new to learn about you, something they haven't uncovered yet. That's what keeps them hooked. Maintaining mystery also involves giving her space to miss you. The art of mystery is the ability to hold back and let her desire grow when you're not around. If you're always available, always at her beck and call, the excitement fades because there's no anticipation, no longing. In any relationship, too much accessibility can lead to complacency. When you maintain your own interests, pursuits, and hobbies, you naturally become a more intriguing figure. You're not just a man who is always available. You're a man who has a full life, one that is captivating in its own right. This doesn't mean being distant or unavailable to the point of frustration, but it does mean knowing when to step back and allow her to wonder what you're up to, what you're thinking, or what you'll do next. This creates a sense of longing that can keep the connection between you two fresh and exciting. Another element of mystery is keeping some parts of yourself reserved, not just in terms of your activities, but also emotionally. Women, especially those who are intuitive, can sense when a man is too eager to pour out his entire soul from the get-go. Vulnerability is important, but it must be earned and shared in a way that feels natural, not rushed. By holding back some aspects of your life, you invite her to ask more questions, to be more curious about you, and to dig deeper. This doesn't mean being cold or withholding important information, but rather it's about pacing the depth of your emotional connection in a way that keeps the relationship dynamic. When you share everything about yourself all at once, the conversation and the relationship become stagnant. But when you slowly reveal parts of yourself over time, it builds a deeper connection where she feels like she's peeling back layers and learning more about the real you. Mystery also plays into the way you interact with her. It's in the subtle nuances of your actions and words. It's in how you communicate, how you present your intentions, and how you express your desires. Being too straightforward, too direct, can sometimes kill the energy of a relationship. Instead of constantly spelling things out, let there be moments of ambiguity that prompt curiosity. For example, Instead of always stating exactly how you feel or what you're thinking, leave room for her to interpret your actions, your body language, or the way you approach certain situations. These little moments of intrigue create a deeper connection because they challenge her to understand you beyond what is immediately apparent. It makes her think about you, to reflect on the moments you share, and to wonder what lies beneath the surface. The mystery also extends beyond the verbal and emotional aspects. It's about your actions and your life outside of the relationship. A man who has a sense of purpose, who is deeply immersed in his passions and ambitions, will naturally maintain an aura of mystery because there's always more to him than what's immediately visible. Women don't want a man who is constantly revolving around them, who has no depth or personal goals beyond the relationship. They want someone who is driven by his own vision, someone who has a life beyond her, because that makes them value the moments they share even more. When you have your own pursuits and are constantly working towards something, whether it's in your career, personal development, or hobbies, you become a more intriguing figure. You're not just a partner, you're someone with layers, with experiences, and with growth happening outside of the relationship. Finally, mystery isn't about being manipulative or playing games for the sake of control. It's about cultivating a sense of self-respect, creating boundaries, and knowing how to keep parts of your life and identity separate and unique. Women are attracted to men who aren't entirely consumed by them, who have their own passions, and who show up with something to offer outside of the relationship. It creates an energy of pursuit. She wants to learn more, discover more, and experience more. In a world where people are increasingly transparent, where everything is shared instantly on social media, maintaining an air of mystery is a breath of fresh air. It makes the relationship feel more exciting, more authentic, and ultimately more fulfilling. Women, more than many men realize, want to be challenged to grow. And no, this doesn't mean they want to be criticized or pushed to the point of exhaustion. It means they want a partner who challenges them intellectually, emotionally, and even in the way they approach life. They long for a man who doesn't just accept them as they are, but one who sees their potential and encourages them to become the best version of themselves. This kind of challenge isn't about being harsh or demanding. It's about inspiring growth. It's about setting standards that push both of you to be better individuals and better partners. A woman wants to know that her man believes in her capabilities, that he sees her not just as she is now, but as the woman she could become. This could be in her career, in her personal development, or in how she navigates the world around her. When a man believes in her potential and challenges her to rise to it, he is showing that he values her for more than just the person she is today. He sees the limitless possibilities of who she could be, and actively works with her to unlock that potential. This doesn't mean making her feel inadequate or always pushing her beyond her limits. Rather, it's about being a motivating force that reminds her of the strength and ambition that she might not even see in herself. Women want a man who can provide intellectual stimulation, someone who challenges their thoughts, makes them think differently, and expands their perspective on life. Relationships become stagnant when both partners are complacent in their beliefs and don't challenge one another to evolve. A woman doesn't want a man who agrees with everything she says or does. She wants someone who pushes her to see the world in a new way, who offers different viewpoints, who makes her question assumptions and think critically. It's this intellectual stimulation that keeps the relationship dynamic and exciting. It's not about arguing for the sake of it, but about having deep, meaningful conversations that lead to growth. A man who can challenge her mind is one who will always keep her engaged. Emotionally, a woman also wants a man who challenges her to grow in terms of her emotional awareness and intelligence. This means encouraging her to confront her fears, her insecurities, and her vulnerabilities in a healthy way. She wants a man who doesn't just soothe her emotions when she's upset, but one who helps her understand the root of those feelings. He helps her navigate the complexities of her emotional world, not by offering simple solutions, but by being there to help her unpack her feelings and challenges. This challenge isn't about being cold or detached. It's about being emotionally mature enough to help her grow in her own emotional awareness. It requires patience, understanding, and the ability to create a safe space where she can express herself fully without fear of judgment. In terms of personal growth, women desire a man who sets high standards not only for her, but for himself as well. When a man sets goals and actively works toward them, it becomes an inspiration for her to do the same. They don't want a man who is stagnant or complacent, but someone who is constantly evolving, improving, and striving for more in every aspect of his life. This sense of ambition is contagious. When she sees him constantly pushing himself to be better, whether that's in his career, his health, his relationships, or his personal development, it motivates her to do the same. She wants a partner who will encourage her to set higher goals for herself, who will celebrate her wins but also gently push her to do more, be more, and grow in ways she might never have considered. A man who challenges a woman in a relationship isn't doing so out of control or dominance. It's about respect. It's about recognizing the potential in her and wanting to see that potential fulfilled. The right kind of challenge shows that you are invested in her, that you care about her personal growth as much as you care about your own. It creates an atmosphere of mutual respect, where both partners are constantly learning from one another, evolving and improving as individuals. When you challenge her to become the best version of herself, you're not only helping her grow, but you're also building a stronger, more fulfilling connection that is based on respect, admiration, and a shared commitment to self-improvement. The challenge you offer should never be about forcing her to change or conform to your expectations. It's about providing the space, encouragement, and support for her to become the person she is capable of being, and to rise to challenges she might otherwise shy away from. Women want to feel empowered in this way, not controlled, but encouraged. They want to know that their partner sees their strengths and weaknesses, and rather than letting them be stagnant, wants to see them evolve, improve, and succeed in their own right. A man who offers this kind of challenge doesn't just make her feel loved and valued. He makes her feel like she is capable of achieving greatness, both with him and on her own. Women deeply desire a man who maintains his standards without apology. This is something they will rarely vocalize, but it is a quality that speaks volumes in a relationship. When a man has high standards, both for himself and for the people he allows into his life, it sends a clear message about his self-worth. He is not afraid to demand respect, and he is not afraid to walk away from situations or people that don't meet the expectations he has set for himself and his life. This is a form of strength, one that doesn't need to be shouted or enforced. It simply radiates from the way he carries himself, the boundaries he sets, and the way he interacts with others. For a woman, a man who knows his worth and isn't willing to settle is incredibly attractive. It's a sign of emotional strength and maturity. Women often find themselves in situations where they are pressured to compromise their values, to settle for less than they deserve, or to overlook red flags for the sake of comfort or approval. When a man refuses to do this, it shows that he holds himself to a higher standard, one that doesn't bend or shift for anyone. This doesn't mean he's unyielding or rigid in every aspect of his life, but it means that he knows what is non-negotiable, and he makes it clear to the people around him. His unwavering respect for his own standards is something women respect, even if they don't always express it. When a man holds his ground in this way, he provides a sense of security for the woman in his life. Women want to feel that they are with someone who is strong enough to set and enforce boundaries, not only for them but for the relationship as a whole. When he knows what he wants and won't settle for less, it reassures her that he will stand firm in the face of challenges. Whether it's standing up for her, for their values, or for the direction of the relationship, his ability to maintain his standards means that the relationship is built on solid ground. It creates a foundation of mutual respect because she knows that he values himself enough to not tolerate behavior or situations that don't align with his principles. At the same time, this doesn't mean a man should be inflexible or unreasonable. A high standard is not about being controlling or demanding perfection, but about having a clear sense of who he is, what he wants, and what he deserves in his relationships and in life. It's about maintaining integrity in the face of temptation, pressure, or discomfort. Women want to be with a man who has the courage to stand firm in his decisions, even when it's hard. Whether it's saying no to something that doesn't feel right, asserting his needs in a conversation, or walking away from a toxic situation, the man who remains steadfast in his values is a man who commands respect. One of the most important aspects of a man maintaining his standards without apology is how he handles disrespect. Women, as much as they may try to avoid conflict, will always respect a man who can set clear boundaries and enforce them when necessary. If a woman feels disrespected, whether through words, actions, or attitudes, she wants a partner who will take a stand. She wants someone who will call out behavior that isn't acceptable and protect the integrity of the relationship. A man who is willing to assert himself and hold others accountable for their actions creates a sense of safety and trust. When a man doesn't back down from upholding his standards, it shows that he values the relationship enough to protect it, even when it's uncomfortable. Maintaining standards without apology is also a form of self-respect. When a man respects himself enough to demand high standards from others, he sets a powerful example. This self-respect doesn't come from a place of arrogance or superiority. Rather, it comes from a deep understanding that he is worthy of being treated with kindness, fairness, and honesty. Women are drawn to men who don't beg for validation, who don't need to prove themselves constantly to others. Instead, they admire the man who walks into any room or situation with the quiet confidence that he does not need anyone's approval to feel secure in himself. The beauty of a man who maintains his standards without apology is that it inspires a woman to do the same. When she sees him valuing himself so highly, she starts to see the importance of valuing herself in the same way. It encourages her to set higher standards in her own life, whether it's with her own self-care, her career, her friendships, or the way she interacts with the man in her life. When a man maintains his standards, it raises the bar for both of them, making it clear that this relationship will be built on mutual respect, shared values, and uncompromising integrity. Finally, a man who maintains his standards without apology doesn't just do so in the big moments. It's in the small, everyday choices. It's in the way he respects his time, how he chooses his words, how he handles the small conflicts that arise. It's in his ability to stay true to his vision for his life, even when distractions or temptations arise. When he consistently lives by his standards, it sends a message that he can be counted on, not just in the easy moments, but in the tough ones too. Women crave that consistency. They want to feel like they're with a man who doesn't just talk about his values, but lives them every day. His unwavering commitment to his standards creates a sense of stability and trust, and it's in this security that love and respect thrive. Women want a man who can be emotionally independent. This is one of the most important yet often understated desires they have, because it speaks to a deeper level of maturity and self-sufficiency. Emotional independence means that a man can stand on his own emotionally, without relying on others to validate his feelings or make him feel secure. It doesn't mean being detached or cold. Rather, it means being able to manage one's own emotions in a healthy, mature way, and not burdening others with the constant need for emotional reassurance. A woman deeply values a partner who is grounded in his own emotional world, who doesn't lean on her to fix his problems, soothe his insecurities, or carry the weight of his emotional needs all the time. Being emotionally independent isn't about avoiding vulnerability. It's about understanding how to express those vulnerabilities in a healthy, balanced way. A man who is emotionally independent knows how to navigate his own emotions, process his feelings, and cope with challenges without expecting his partner to constantly step in and rescue him. Women want to feel like they can share their own emotions and struggles without constantly having to manage their partner's emotions at the same time. They don't want to feel like the emotional caretaker in the relationship. Instead, they long for a partner who can handle his own emotional ups and downs, who can face his own fears and challenges, and who can provide a sense of emotional balance in the relationship. This type of emotional independence allows for a healthier dynamic where both partners can show up as individuals with their own emotional worlds, while also coming together to create a strong, shared connection. When a man is emotionally independent, it allows a woman to focus on her own emotional growth and well-being, knowing that her partner isn't relying on her to fill gaps in his emotional state. She doesn't have to constantly wonder whether he's okay or if he's emotionally stable, because he is able to express his feelings and take care of his emotional needs without overwhelming her. At the same time, emotional independence also involves being able to have space when needed. A man who is emotionally independent doesn't require constant attention or reassurance from his partner. He is comfortable with solitude, with his own thoughts, and with pursuing his individual interests and passions. This is an incredibly attractive quality because it shows that he is self-assured and doesn't need to cling to anyone for his own sense of worth. Women often want a partner who is confident enough to take time for himself, whether that's engaging in a hobby, focusing on his career, or simply having some time alone to recharge. This independence can actually strengthen the bond between partners, as it ensures that both individuals bring their own interests, energy, and sense of fulfillment to the relationship, rather than relying on each other to provide everything. Additionally, emotional independence means that a man is not constantly reacting to external events or people, but instead he is able to maintain a sense of inner peace and emotional stability. He is not quick to anger or frustration. He takes the time to reflect on his feelings and understand the root of his emotional reactions. Women find this trait incredibly reassuring, as it creates a stable environment where they don't have to walk on eggshells, constantly trying to manage their partner's emotional state. It means that disagreements can be resolved calmly and respectfully, without the escalation of emotions that often leads to conflict. When a man is emotionally independent, it allows for a healthier flow of communication and resolution, as both partners can express their emotions without fear of dramatic reactions or emotional outbursts. Furthermore, emotional independence means that a man can offer emotional support without becoming overwhelmed himself. He knows how to be there for his partner, to listen to her struggles, and to offer comfort without losing himself in the process. This is especially important in a relationship, as women often experience moments of vulnerability and emotional intensity. A man who is emotionally independent can hold space for her feelings without feeling threatened or burdened by them. He doesn't collapse under the weight of her emotions. Instead, he provides a steady, supportive presence. His emotional strength is something she can lean on, without it compromising his sense of self or leading him to feel depleted. The foundation of emotional independence is rooted in self-awareness. A man who is emotionally independent has a strong sense of who he is, what he needs, and what he values. He is not constantly seeking validation from others or trying to prove himself. His self-esteem comes from within, and he is not easily swayed by external opinions or circumstances. This inner strength is incredibly appealing to women because it shows that he is confident and secure in his identity. He doesn't need a partner to complete him. He is already whole, and he brings that completeness into the relationship. This allows the relationship to thrive on mutual respect, as both partners are able to show up as fully realized individuals who complement each other, rather than trying to fill each other's emotional voids. Lastly, emotional independence contributes to a more fulfilling, less codependent relationship. It removes the pressure from both partners to constantly be on for each other and allows for a more relaxed, natural connection. Women want to feel that they are with someone who doesn't rely on them for emotional sustenance, but instead, someone who enriches their life without burdening them with the weight of his emotional world. This doesn't mean that emotional connection is absent. On the contrary, it means that both partners can freely share their emotions, knowing that neither is overly reliant on the other for emotional support. This creates a balanced, mature relationship where both individuals are emotionally self-sufficient, yet emotionally available and supportive when needed. In conclusion, women want a man who brings strength, independence, and emotional maturity into the relationship. When a man maintains high standards, challenges his partner to grow, maintains an air of mystery, and is emotionally independent, he creates a dynamic where both partners can thrive as individuals while also building a deep, fulfilling connection. By embodying these qualities, he doesn't just become a partner, he becomes a source of inspiration, security, and admiration. These desires may often go unsaid, but they form the foundation of what women deeply crave in a relationship, making the bond stronger and the connection more meaningful. Ultimately, it's these qualities that not only create lasting attraction, but also foster the kind of love that is built on mutual respect, trust, and emotional growth.